West has always done a tremendous job of they get the ball quick to where it needs to go, and they're running down the field. And the defense has got to react quickly. As someone who played against the Zeeland West T in the past, it's not a lot of time to react. It forces you to be right on top of it, and if you're not, that's how they end up scoring 70 points in a game.
Right. And you already a player that, especially when you played, you would have been you were probably undersized for the position you were at, especially against Zeeland anyway. So when they're running a quick hitter and then suddenly you have a pulling guard in your face and you aren't expecting him to be there, not a ton of fun.
No, not a lot.
Ruff, he'll turn, give, Terry, busting into the open field. There he goes, Jaden Terry, Granville with an answer and another Bulldog lead. Give to Skurris fake. This in the backfield, evading a man, throws out of a tackle, incomplete. Zeros across the scoreboard. Harper Woods have won the state championship, their first in school history, in unbelievable, thrilling fashion.
We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had
Fake handoff, guy up the middle, big hole, bursting over the 40 to the 45-50, angling right at the 40, 35-30, racing to the 25, 20, outside the numbers, 10, 5, touchdown, Muskegon, Mackay guy, 80 yards to the house. All right, hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Call. This is MGN's kind of general discussion podcast. We've got our dog pod where we talk Granville football. Give the full intro because I know we might have a few more new listeners this week. As this show, along with the pregame show, we're really excited to have on the legendary John Shillito, head coach at Zeeland West, a guy that certainly we've watched a lot of, and our high school was in his conference when we were in high school, and our high school lost to his school by 70 points every single game. Every time. So we're excited to have John on the show to break down the Bird Bowl, Zeeland East and Zeeland West this week on the West Shore Game of the Week video coverage on MGN via our YouTube page and MichiganSportsRadio.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube, along with follow across social media. Like you can see on the top of your page, at MI Game Night is where you can find us everywhere. Also, go to MichiganGameNight.com or MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN and click on Shop or Buy Merch or whatever it's listed as on the different pages. Check out the MGN Shop where we've got a ton of merch. Chandler is modeling a couple different options that you can find on the MGN merch shop and the MGN Shop. So, all right, that's a very, very quick intro. And I would say we're going to break down, do a little bit of our behind-the-scenes kind of broadcast planning session a little bit on Zeeland East, Zeeland West. We're going to do a little bit of a general discussion as well based around my 4 Downs column that I write on Michigan Sports Radio every week and talk about those stories. But first off, everyone's here for Coach Shillito. Let's get it over to John Shillito and my interview with him. And welcome back, everyone, to Game Night as we continue to get ready for our West Shore Game of the Week in this one. And very excited for a really special guest and one of the greatest coaches in the history of the state of Michigan. It is John Shillito joining the program now from Zeeland West. Coach Shillito, how are you doing today? And thank you for your time this morning.
I'm good, Nate.
That's great. And you guys have got a team that really has been impressive through the first few weeks of this season. I mean, winning by over 19 points per game, some impressive wins. I mean, just tell us kind of from that surface level view about this team starting the season, how things are going in the locker room, how things are rolling, because you guys have looked like one of the most impressive teams in West Michigan.
Yeah, it's been a good start. I mean, the level of competition is really high, playing Muskegon and then West Ottawa and then a very good Whitehall team. Pleased with how the kids have played. Really feel like we've defended the run in particular extremely well, and have been able to move the ball on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've certainly seen that. I mean, the Muskegon win right off the bat certainly proves a lot. We'll focus on this Zeeland East game in a second. I want to kind of look big picture. So we at Game Night, we do a lot of Granville, Unity Christian, other T teams. When you talk to coaches like Eric Stiegel, you certainly are one of the guys that's viewed as, kind of the quote-unquote godfather of the T offense and a guy that a lot of people look to for expertise on running the offense. But I want to take a step back and kind of, for people that maybe aren't aware of, kind of where did you first learn the offense from? When did you decide to implement the offense? I mean, you've made a decade's run of it, but where did your, kind of original infatuation and learning of the T offense come from?
We started running it in 1994.
Okay.
We had in 93 we ended up 10-1. We lost to Belding under Irv Sigler in the regional championship game. We had guys in one system, but didn't really have the players to run the system. This is at Orchard View High School, to run the system that we were in, and we looked at what Belding ran and felt like it could be really good for us. So we kind of adopted that in 94, and then kind of step by step took it from there.
Yeah, and you kind of talk about that development. So if a listener out there is used to watching like the Granville version of the offense, or like the up-tempo Craig Tibby Unity Christian kind of version, like where do you think like there are some kind of key differences in your offense maybe in what people look for versus some of the other T offenses? Because I know even though it looks the same formation and people think it's the same offense, there's certainly a lot of like little different keys in there.
Well, everybody runs it a little bit differently, and again, over the years, we've evolved a lot. People defend it extremely well, much more so than when we started. We always kind of joke that when we started, we ran 5 plays with no tag words. Now we run about 10 plays with about 4 tag words each, because people make you do that. I think everybody that runs it has some of that. Craig at Unity is very schemy. They do a great job trying to find the key to unlocking the door, and then when they get it, they go. Eric's a little more power oriented. I think we would be kind of that way, maybe a little more quarterback oriented for us sometimes. But again, everybody has just a little different version.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's a fascinating offense. As I said, we've primarily covered Granville at game night for the last several years, so it's been really fascinating to get to learn more and more about the intricacies of an offense that from the outside people see it and they're like, it's one formation and one base idea, but there's so much certainly that goes into it. Let's kind of transition now into this game. It's Zeeland East at Zeeland West, and you guys have an incredibly difficult schedule this year. The OK Gold might be among, if not the best conference in West Michigan, top to bottom, and it starts right away with this rivalry game. I think that's top down a 2-1 Zeeland East team. Talk about the emotion of the team, the energy in this game with a rivalry game, and a little bit different rivalry game because these kids are all so close to each other, throughout the day and coming up in the same communities and the same schools.
Yeah, it's a unique, setup because some of our kids, they'll be in the same class together, during the day, and so it is. It's a very unique setup. For us, we look at it. It's another important game for us. Like you said, the OK Gold is really good right now. And you add that to, we played in our 3 non-league games so far, and in our 4 non-league games, we played 3 teams that won at least 10 games last year. So we have a lot of demands in our schedule. So for us, it is a 1 week at a time thing, and and obviously this is a big week for us, but not something we spent a lot of time on before this week simply because of the demands of what we had.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zeeland East, you talked about how well your team has stopped the run so far. You mentioned that. Zeeland East is a team, for Coach Woodruff, they're out of the shotgun, but typically they're willing to go with, a couple of tight ends or a tight end and a fullback out there looking to really run the ball with Eli Walcott. So looking on your defensive side of the field, what are some of the keys and some of the things you're looking at in what certainly is going to likely be a little bit of a powerful look from Zeeland East? They can throw off of it too, of course, but a team that wants to kind of match some of your power.
Well, he's first of all, he's a really good back. He's kind of a slasher style runner, and he gets in and out of things very quickly, runs with a lot of power. And we're going to have to contend with that. I think the big thing is going to be to get off the ball up front and get off blocks, and then good run fits at backer for us.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, I think the Zeeland East coaching staff, and we've seen it through the first couple weeks of the year, they've talked a lot about they like their linebacker group in particular and what they can do with that group, of course, kind of lining up against the T. And I know you guys are potentially dealing with a couple injuries as well coming into this contest, but what are some of the things you're looking at on the offensive side of the ball, trying to keep that momentum going from the Whitehall game against a team that knows you well now and has some players that can certainly do some things against the T?
Their linebackers are really good, and the big thing for us is going to be to get off the ball, get some movement up front, be consistent, don't make mistakes, and keep the ball moving. The one thing that's true is if it is a power game for us, it's about making first downs, and we'll use 4 downs to get that if we need it.
All right, sounds good. Cannot wait to see it. Always an exciting game at Zeeland, and it's going to be a great one in this year's version of the Bird Bowl, Zeeland East and Zeeland West. Head coach John Shillito for the Zeeland West Ducks, one of the greatest in the history of the state of Michigan and a Hall of Famer. Coach, thank you again for your time this morning. Good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, Nate.
All right.
We are Centennial Securities,
an independent firm with a team of committed professionals
who strive to exceed our clients' expectations by giving outstanding service.
We're proud to be part of our community where we live and work.
Gear up this season with the MGN Shop, featuring everything from t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats and outerwear, to water bottles, stickers, and other accessories that help show off your style and your support of Game Night, the Granville Bulldogs, and more. To shop, click on the Shop Merch tab at the top of MichiganGameNight.com and browse nearly 50 items. And be sure to check in frequently as new items are added throughout the season. That's the MGN Shop through MichiganGameNight.com.
Upgrade to Music Jams Premium to get uninterrupted listening on all your favorite tunes. Click here to start your 7-day free trial.
If it's important, it's not worth compromising. Which is why with Farmers, you don't have to compromise quality to get great savings on your insurance. I got this.
We are Farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Game Night is presented in part by Farmers Insurance, Bennett Center Agency, for all auto, home, specialty, life, and commercial insurance. See what a center can do for you. All right, welcome back to Behind the Call. Nate Dreyer, Jim Timmer. Huge thank you to Coach Shillito for coming on with us this week. You can also check out that interview in our pregame coverage that begins at 6:30 of our video coverage of the Bird Bowl, Zeeland East and Zeeland West from Zeeland Stadium. So kind of this show, a little bit of what we're going to do is it's kind of unscripted. We have a bit of an outline, but I think the main thing here is we're kind of early in our week's prep, and this is actually a good chance of us to do a little bit of broadcast prep on the air in an unscripted fashion. So, kind of come up with, we do our Chandler's Chalkboard, we call it as well. That's part of the pregame show in terms of keys to the game and stuff, and we can come up with some of those ideas here. Let's start with the systems. So what we're going to see, and I know you were over there just watching some film too, before we started, Zeeland West system, nothing more to talk. We know what it is, especially because we cover Granville every week. The one difference with the Zeeland T, in my experience, and this year's team certainly, with Hendricks, the fullback, falls into this, is they rely on a speed fullback probably more than some other teams do. Mm-hmm. So like Granville this year has a little bit more of a power fullback. Unity will kind of bounce. Unity's mostly known for their up tempo. This is a team that it's typically kind of some tougher runners, bigger guys, about 200 pounds or so at the flanking wings to the T. And then it's Hendricks is kind of the primary guy on these quick hitters. And the thing about this Zeeland West T is it is incredibly
quick hitting. It's the number one thing about the way that Coach Shillito has them run this offense is it is the quickest hitting tee that I think we see in West Michigan. There's a reason why he is kind of the godfather of this offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think, that when you see that formation in the various teams that run it throughout West Michigan it's the same formation. It's the same lining up as far as the way they do it in the backfield, but at the same time, there's these intricacies that are slightly different about each one, and it's always interesting to see as a broadcast team that calls Granville all the time, and then to see it, and it's like it's the exact same formation, but it can be completely different at the same time. And what makes Zeeland West a little bit different is how fast they kind of get to those handoffs and some of those fakes. Some of the teams we see are a little bit more slower developing, and it's a little bit more forced on misdirection and kind of forcing the defense to look elsewhere. And Zeeland West has always done a tremendous job of they get the ball quick to where it needs to go, and they're running down the field, and the defense has got to react quickly. As someone who played against the Zeeland West tee in the past, it's not a lot of time to react. It forces you to be right on top of it, and if you're not, that's how they end up scoring 70 points in a game.
Right. And you already a player that, especially when you played, you would have been you were probably undersized for the position you were at, especially against Zeeland anyway. So when they're running a quick hitter and then suddenly you have a pulling guard in your face and you aren't expecting him to be there, not a ton of fun.
No, not a lot.
This is going to be a physical football game, though, because Zeeland East is a power in uppercase letters spread offense. There's going to be 2 tight ends on the field at all times. So the base for Zeeland East is quarterback, running back, wing, H-back, inline tight end, 2 wide receivers. Kind of similar to like what Byron Center runs. Mm-hmm. I think I saw a highlight or 2 even of them maybe putting a 6th offensive lineman. I don't know. Fact check me on that maybe, but I think I saw that. They'll go sometimes 2 inline tight ends, but typically it's going to be 1 inline tight end, H-back, and power, and everything built around getting the ball to Eli Walcott, their standout, do everything senior running back. If they can get him 30 touches a game with running into space, that's what they're going to want to do. But this is going to be a really physical game above all else.
Yeah, I think so. I think really interesting to see Zeeland East still very much a team that wants to run the football, have a talented running back. The same way Zeeland West wants to run the football a lot, but they do it slightly different. They're going to spread you out a little bit and give the look that they could pass the ball, but they also have a bunch of big bodies in there to beef things up. And when you bring a couple extra tight ends to really help along that offensive line, just get some more muscle there and create some more holes for your running back to run through. And kind of really interested to see what the Zeeland offense can be. I think when you've got a tremendous running back like that, and you can get those big bodies along the line and force the defense to really stack the box. They've also got some playmakers to where their offense is set up is still spread enough that they can throw the football if teams like Zeeland West are going to be really stacking the box. And so I think really interested to see how this Chicks offense kind of finds that balance.
Yeah, no, and let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the balance. The quarterbacks. So first off, for Zeeland West, this is storylines. Trey Slotok missed the second half last week with an injury, and I would say he's probably questionable for this one. Who knows what happens throughout the week? We won't know his status probably until you all know his status and they come running out. So Drew Albrecht was the backup. He played the entire second half. They scored 22 points against Whitehall with him still in there. So the offense operated well. I think Albrecht wears number 24. I don't know how I feel about a quarterback wearing 24. I like number 24, but I don't know if I like a quarterback wearing 24. Yeah. Shout out Ian Sanders, Granville, wearing 20. But there's your analysis on him. Regardless, so Will Drenick, who we saw as a sophomore, or as a freshman last year, sophomore this year on the basketball team for Zeeland East, good athlete, good runner. Like you said, throws the ball some. The pass game is going to be in general a huge X factor in this game, and we'll talk about this a little bit more here right now. So Zeeland East, Wilver Stagg, Caleb Clairbout, a couple other guys. You look to Coulter Rotman, the junior who's quick, and Isaiah Boonstra. Like a depth of guys. Also, maybe looking at like Stayhauer and some guys in the tight end mix. They've got guys that can be threats in the pass game for Drenick, probably especially quick hitters and just trying to get that defense to not, if they can get one guy out of that box and then open things up so they have the numbers advantage, since they're willing to have an extra tight end, than most teams do on the line in terms of spread offenses the whole time anyway. That could be where the advantage is. Other side of things for Zeeland West, this team can throw the football. And they especially could with Slotak in. We'll see what they can do with Albrecht. And if Albrecht is the one that plays, if it's Slotak, then for sure. But the Zeeland West pass game is hit, and they're a team that I feel like they average of the T offenses. When Zeeland West passes, I feel like they average the most yards per pass. Like I feel like every time I've seen Zeeland West pass my entire life is a touchdown.
Right.
Like I don't know if I've only seen Zeeland West pass probably 10 times in person in my life, but it was 10 touchdowns. And that's really what they do. So I think Vanderswag especially is their terrific receiver, kind of the Easton Sadinsky type for Granville followers of ours. That pass game is going to be critical for both teams. It's going to serve a similar purpose, but in particular, it's the T offense that we're talking about as one of the scary pass game because it's coming at some point. They're going to leak one of those running backs out, and when they do, it's probably 6 points.
Yeah, no, that's what makes defending the T so difficult, and Coach Shillito's been doing it for a long time, keeping teams guessing as far as you need all 11 defenders to play in the run game in order to stop the T, but they also, as soon as Zeeland West recognizes that, they've got the passing ability to go right over the top, and now you're giving up long passing touchdowns as well. So I think the quarterback situation there in the health of Slotak, definitely a big thing, but kind of the beauty of the T as well is that you don't need to drop back 25, 30 times to throw the football. The thing that makes it interesting is there's a lot of rollouts and throws on the move out of the T that aren't necessarily the easiest. So if it is a backup quarterback situation, those are the things that you'd be looking at there. But I think the Zeeland East side as well, Drink, I think his ability to make some plays with his legs there too is a big part of it. And I think when you've got the run game, as we mentioned with Walcott, a quarterback that can move a little bit, and then you mentioned some of those big basketball players that are big targets in the middle of the field, guys that can either run some short routes across the middle of the field, or if they choose to get crazy and want to throw the football down the field, they've got some height as well.
A team that they don't go to the tight ends, Zeeland West, a ton in the pass game as much as the running backs with this year's group at least, but you never know what I know they have tight end. I don't know how, we're going back 2014, 2015, and we've seen him a couple times since, but I know 2014, 2015, if everyone remembers, what was his name, Jordan Van Dort, went on to Western first, and then I think Grand Valley, whatever. So he was there when we were there. And our senior year, I believe he caught 2 80-yard touchdown passes against Hamilton.
That sounds right.
Sounds about right. So I do know they have a tight end pass element somewhere deep in that deep as in it's a big playbook, but somewhere deep in that playbook for Zeeland West. So, yeah, I guess kind of like looking at, defensive standouts certainly there for at the end of the day, both these teams defensively, interestingly, built off this. I think Zeeland East really likes their linebacker mix. Zeeland West is really good on the front line, especially with edge rushers. So I think two teams that like to run the ball, they also like to stop the run. So I think, again, we're looking at one of the big tests in this ball game is going to be the development of the pass game, because I feel like the run game is going to be a little bit of, if both teams play it well, I think will be a little bit of a slugfest, and the game is going to really count on being able to open things up one way or another in the pass game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think both teams know that they rely heavily on their run game, and of course the opposing defense is going to know that coming in, and it's going to be very much a strength on strength as far as each team's going to like their offense and their offensive line running the football. Each team kind of likes their defense and their physical play along the D-line or at the linebacker position, and their ability to kind of neutralize that run game for the opposing team. And so when you've got that head-to-head and that strength on strength right there, it's, what's next? If they're taking your number one option away and they're shutting down your run game, what can you turn to? How prepared are you for that, and how developed is that part of your game? Yeah,
so, I think kind of looking at our Chandler's chalkboard thing, and I'm just making some notes here for our pregame notes as well. So, I think Zeeland West, you're probably talking about, really, I think that pass game, actually probably a third point is going to be the pass game in general. So, something, I don't know, I always name it something creative. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We've come up with something like they do on, I don't know why, when that started on broadcast, when they do the keys to the game, why they do something cutesy and stupid all the time.
Always.
But of course we will follow along. If there's something over the top and stupid, we are here for you. So something probably in the pass game, the third point, and then I think for Zeeland West, if they can get defensively, if they get pressure off the edge, and they're able to win that matchup. And all of a sudden, you've got the sophomore quarterback not able to throw. You're getting the penetration in the run game. I think it's good night at that point. I think that's really kind of the X factor is if Zeeland West gets the pressure off the end that I think Zeeland West is able to get, Zeeland East offense is going to really struggle to move the ball. Now, if they hold, and again, they've got an extra tight end.
Right.
I mean, they are built to stop that edge rush. But that's probably the matchup to watch is the terrific Zeeland West edge rushers against the tight ends and the tackles. A young offensive line, too. I think they're going to have a freshman at right tackle, or they have at points for Zeeland East. So that's going to be the big point. Is I think those edge rushers for Zeeland West, that might be the main X factor, along with the pass game that we're looking at.
Right. I think, as you said, Zeeland East, their base offense, and what we talked about with the heavy sets and the multiple tight ends is that offense is kind of built to withstand that edge rush. But that's exactly where, if Zeeland West is still getting some pressure, it's kind of what do you do now? If you can't stop them with those extra bodies in there and that extra help along the line, there's not a lot of other places to turn, and other than getting the football out quickly, and are they built to do that? I'm not sure if we've seen a ton of that from this Chicks offense. So I think right there is if they can hold up, if they can keep those edge rushers and that entire defensive line out of the backfield, it allows time for them to run the ball and also to sit in the back in the pocket and throw it a little bit. But if Zeeland West is getting pressure, especially right away, then they gotta come up with something else. And I'm not sure exactly how well they're built to turn to a quick passing game and kind of a West Coast quick get it out style.
Right. The thing is, they almost, and I am not normally a proponent of this concept, but I am typically a proponent of if you can establish the run game, throw play action off of it later in the game. That's typically the way I'm a Michigan football fan. I was a big fan of the way that Jim Harbaugh played Michigan football the last couple of years. But Zeeland East, and that's how Zeeland East is built. I almost wonder if they have to look at this game in reverse, and they have to do a little bit of the Lane Kiffin type run strategy, the Lincoln Riley run strategy of maybe we like to only have 2 receivers, but maybe what if we go 3 wide receivers? We spread the field a bit, and what if we open the game by throwing it a bit, and we force that defense to take one guy out of the box, and from there we maybe are able to run backwards. Now, it's risky because, like you said, are they built to get those quick hitters and to do that, and to force the defense with an extra man out of the box and into more shell zone coverages? But I think that's one of the things I'll be watching for is does Zeeland East wind up having to look at this game backwards in order to get an advantage again? Again, Zeeland West run defense is the best maybe in West Michigan. They held Muskegon to nothing. Whitehall put up some points, and Whitehall can throw the football. That's how they want to do things. So that's really the main thing for me is I think Zeeland East might have to look at one way or another doing this game backwards, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility that that's the way they want to approach it. And if they've got the personnel and those extra receivers that they feel comfortable with, then you can come up with that game plan right now and be implementing that and be ready to roll and give them a different look, but kind of still get back to what you want to do. And on the flip side of things, that's where kind of the cat and mouse game along with it is that if Zeeland West can force them before the game even starts to kind of go out of what they want to do, you've already kind of affected the game plan and taken them out of what they do best. And so that's kind of the back and forth, the chess match that goes along, and that goes all week. That's not just during the game. That can be in prep and figuring out what you want to run this time of the week.
All right, 6:30 p.m. on Friday, MichiganSportsRadio.com and the Michigan Game YouTube page. We'll be live with video coverage. We'll have, again, that interview. If you missed it in this podcast that you're watching somehow, in this non-live podcast, if you watched missed the earlier interview and don't want to scroll backwards, it will be on that pregame show again with Coach Shillito. But it'll be a good one, and it's going to be right now on our schedule for West Shore Games of the Week. Back-to-back weeks of seeing Zeeland West. We'll see the Ducks this week, and we'll see them also when they travel to Unity Christian for what's going to be an all-T affair in a week, and it will be really an interesting game. And actually, this goes into a talking point. We're going to do a little bit of a general look around the area, and we've set up some of our topics for us because if you go to MichiganSportsRadio.com, I put out a weekly column every Monday called 4 Downs. It looks at the 4 biggest stories from the area, and essentially this is just going to be a cheap and easy way for us to come up with topics to talk about on this show and kind of go on a review, and also maybe I don't think in this one there really is much of there weren't too many opinions. It's a column, but it's high school football. I'm not going to get too opinionated in the column and whatever. And obviously, I think I I normally again post that to our at MI Game Night. Follow along there. You can follow our personal pages too, but he won't accept your follow request. I can pretty much tell you, regardless of social media.
I've debated for a long time of just making myself active on there.
You are a public figure.
Yeah, I mean, people have said that, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of that's a big leap to take, and I've been pushing it off. But maybe if it's overwhelming requests, I might have to lean into it.
Your Yankees Twitter retweets for the three of us that you let follow you.
Yeah, it's really for everyone else's safety, and they just probably don't want to see everything that.
Well, no, listen. If you want to make it, listen. We want you to be I think you are the best color analyst in West Michigan. So if you want to match the other color analysts in West Michigan, you probably should be out there. People that follow you for high school sports, I would probably just post a bunch of political crap to that page.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what you need to do.
Because that's exactly what you need to do. Okay, gold. So in my 4 Downs podcast column this week, I wrote about the OK Gold, which is maybe the top conference in West Michigan. And this kind of rolls into starting the Zeeland West, Zeeland East thing. So Forest Hill Central, Unity Christian, Zeeland West, South Christian, all unbeaten. We knew this conference was good. But it didn't really hit me until the season started that they have those 4 teams together.
Yeah.
And they have to all play each other now. That's ridiculous. That is counting in the fact that they're D3 and D4. That's the best conference in the state. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
I think so. I think, going into the season when the new conferences, you kind of just read through them and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, sounds good. That some good teams in there, whatever, and you don't really stop and think these teams are all really good. You've got 4 teams that can make some serious playoff runs, and all of a sudden you've got them all sitting in the same conference. And, now early on in the season, all having success, all 2-1, 3-0, whatever it is. And you're looking like, wow, there's going to be some big matchups in that conference coming up, and definitely going to be a hard fought whoever comes out on top in the OK Gold.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, here's my bold opinion for you. I think there will definitely be 2 state champions from the OK Gold.
Okay.
I think D4 is South Christian's number 1 in the state now, and South Christian is looking very. They reload. I mean, they were the one that I wasn't sure how they reload. They reloaded well, that. All those pieces came together on Carson. But if not, Unity Christian is back. I think people didn't quite. I think they were overlooked a little bit going into the year. And then in D3, FHC is off to a good start again, and they might do a lot of the same things. But I think Zeeland West is. We're going to see it in person now. I think Zeeland West is they were 1 play away from probably being state champions last year with the whole team hurt, and now they're back and they're mean. And honestly, Slow Talk has taken them to a different level, both sides of the ball. I mean, if we're talking players of the year in West Michigan, along with Vis and Terry, Slow Talk for playing both sides of the ball with as much of an impact as he had. That's pretty impressive. Talked in the podcast about the Rockford win. In particular, we talked about this in another podcast. We'll talk about it again. Rockford ran an I form. They ran the ball. And this is a larger statement. But it is why do high school coaches, and again, as I said on the other podcast, I'm not here to criticize people that know a lot more about football than I will ever know. But sometimes they just overthink it and outthink themselves so much where Rockford has the best offensive line and 2 tight ends that can mash and a fullback that can mash. Why not just every once in a while just float it out there? And other teams are guilty of this too. Some coaches do it. That's what I love about Bill Faracco at East Lansing is he kind of has a spread, but sometimes he'll say, "No, screw it, we're going I form. We're gonna run it over right guard out of this out to you." But Rockford just move the ball so effortlessly. Why not at the start of the game just say we're just gonna see what happens
until you stop it.
We're bigger than you are, and what if just because we're bigger than you, we can move heaven and earth against you? Just a thought.
No, it's definitely. I think definitely dangerous, I guess, to see that the Rams are willing to do that. They can. I mean, they're a team that's been spread for a while now under Coach Cummings, and for the most part have had a pretty explosive offense and have always put up big numbers. But, going into the season, the big storyline is they've got an extremely talented offensive line, and you wondered how much they were going to use it as far as power football and running right at other teams. And so week 3 against a rival, you see them go to that and have that. And, yeah, I don't think we'll see them simplify things to the point of they're going to start games in that formation or run it the entire time. But I think, yeah, maybe that's next. They're working their way. I form T's next. But
we have a little bit of a similar point that's coming up later in this discussion, actually.
Yes. Yeah, but no, I think the fact that they had that ready to roll and it can go to some power I form and lean into some different parts of their offense. Encouraging sign for the Rams and their offense.
I was distracted here. Are our faces always that red on that picture? What did I do when I edited this thing? We're red here, too.
Yeah.
Like, Coach Shillito is kind of red, but not, look at my face.
You were tanning.
I guess. I mean, look at my face here normally on the camera. I'm one of the whiter people that's ever existed. All right, whatever. So I wrote last week in this column about giving East Kentwood and Jennison's coaches time, and it's going to, regardless how good you are, even if you're Ty Spencer or Josh Lucas, it's going to take time to build the program. And then what East Kentwood did, these guys, they led 34-0 at the half over Caledonia. So I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. Is the Caledonia, are they at a point now as a team where they're going to have to start, are we looking at Pennington's first rebuild himself? He came in and that team was loaded in particular because he brought a D1 player. Mm-hmm. The new athletic director brought a D1 player. That certainly helps. But, you kind of wonder that. And at the same time, East Kentwood, this is a team, I was kind of sitting back I'm going to whatever. But they have the quarterback. They have the talent everywhere else. Whatever. Now, if you're Granville, if you're Hudsonville, if you're whoever else, if you're even Rockford at the end of the year, East Kentwood scares me because, I know what Ty Spencer did at Martin Luther King every year. And now it's this. If there was ever a team that was built in a college, we're going to win it year one manner, it was East Kentwood, and they went in and they just sent the ultimate warning shot. Here's Cal. They've been beating you all the last couple years. You've been playing these close games. Granville, you really haven't been able to beat Caledonia outside of crazy back and forth miracles. Hudsonville, you haven't been able to beat Caledonia, 34-0 at the half, and then they almost blew the lead, but 34-0 at the half. It's a statement. It makes you rethink, and this will go into the next thing we're going to talk about too, but it really, it changes a little bit of how I think we're going to think about more and more rebuilding at least big high school programs, because this has just become a talent and doing it the same way that it's being done in college now.
Yeah, no, for sure it catches your attention there. I think East Kentwood, a team that, it's kind of a lot like the Jennison team that we talked about earlier, where they've always had potential, and now that they've got a coaching staff that's kind of been there and done that at various programs in the past and have that experience and that winning history, and you get that combined with a lot of the talent that's been there for a while, and I think you see a team that's definitely trending up. It was just a matter of how fast it was going to all come together, and it was kind of mixed results early on, and some good games, some bad game in there as well, where it's it's definitely happening, but maybe it'll be next year before you fully see all the pieces come together and you kind of get the coaching staff to fully implement everything that they want in a program. And I think a win like that, as you said, I think it's also part of a Caledonia team that's kind of still trying to find their footing as well. When you lose a lot of those key pieces like that they relied so heavily on, it's kind of 2 teams trending slightly opposite directions there, where Caledonia trying to figure out and get that next wave of talent in. East Kentwood's had the wave of talent. Now they've got the coaching staff to go along with it to kind of take that next step. But, I think anyone else in the OK Red that's going to be playing East Kentwood, they might not be to their final form just yet, but they're definitely a team that you need to be scared of, and a team that can put it together at any given time. And if they kind of keep things going that direction by the end of the year, they can really set themselves up not only for this season, but being a force in years to come.
Yeah, that was the first week that their offense really took off as well. Lastly, Newaygo and Ralph Munger are 3-0. This is kind of what we've been alluding to. They're running the flex bone. We're seeing still at these small town programs like Newaygo, coaching still matters. Mm-hmm. Having a good system that's coached well, regardless what that even old school system is, can still work. And good for Ralph, probably the greatest coach in the history of the state.
Mm-hmm.
good for him that he goes to Newaygo, smaller school where he can still have complete control, and it's not just a game of bringing in 60 transfers to a roster and wherever, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
And he goes out and wins, still running the flex bone, still just running his system well. So I like to see that. I like that it's score one for kind of old school football outside of the big school BS that happens otherwise that we're seeing right now, because it's a statement that, I wish high school football sometimes was still how it was even 15 years ago, because it has changed. People don't even understand the mess. Like, you think you know, and I think I know, but I probably don't even know. Like, you hear some of the stories of what's going on to get players to leave mid-season. Listen, we cover a team that has a star running back every week. I have seen coaches for other teams sitting in the stands at games wearing their other
high school,
light blue and dark blue and whatever and whatever, I've seen it happen, Chandler.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen. So, yeah, I'm glad that it's working out for old Ralph out at Newaygo old school. This is mostly a statement I wanted to make about the transfers and stuff.
Yeah, that, and you've also, if there's nothing else, you're the biggest fan of Flexbone, and
I am, yes,
and probably Ralph Munger. You might be his biggest fan, honestly.
Might be.
I don't know, even though, I think, it's good to see. I think encouraging there that he gets a kind of a fresh start and at a new school there, and as you mentioned, it's not the power program and necessarily the prestige that Rockford was as a Division I team, but to see that his philosophies there and that old school style of football can work, and it doesn't need to be like it is everywhere else at times.
What a close to the show. We finished hot, buddy.
Yeah.
We finished hot. All right, you learn something every day, and you learned some things from us today. So, maybe. This has been Behind the Call. Zeeland East and Zeeland West play at 6:30 on Friday night. We'll be there on the call. Thanks to Coach Shillito again for coming on earlier. Probably won't want to associate with this show ever again. And that'll do it. He's Chandler Timmer. I'm Nate Jar. We'll see you next time.